Good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome to my NFL Week 18 recap. I'm Mason Sapesky, your host. Today, we're going to recap the last full week of the NFL regular season, take a look ahead to the playoff picture, and at the very end, we will take a look at some Black Monday events around the NFL. I know it's still early. It's actually, at the time I'm filming this, it's 9:19 a.m. Got to go get ready for class. I'll try to make this one as quick as possible. 18 teams are done playing until the preseason in August. 14 teams still have playoffs left to go. We will get into that. I will take a look at the playoff matchups at the end of this video. However, you will not get official predictions or probabilities on those playoff matchups until Friday. I will do a video Friday on all of that. And as you know, we'll obviously on the Friday video skip the Steelers because we will do them on our Sunday morning Steelers game day pregame show. Anyway, though, let's get right into this here. Saturday night, the Texans defeated the Indianapolis Colts 23-19 in a game that we all know turned out to be to see who won the AFC South division. Texans looked very strong. C.J. Stroud was amazing. I thought he had a great game for sure. He threw that amazing touchdown pass to Nico Collins. That was huge for Houston. That got them on the board, got them going, and they just didn't look back from there. There were points in which this game was tied. Houston responded very well when Indianapolis attempted to come back, and they handled the end of game stuff very well there. I was surprised at the end that Shane Steichen didn't run the ball. He threw it. Feel bad, though, for the guy who dropped it for sure. But anyway, though, just a couple quick things for each team. We'll start off with the Colts, obviously, because their season's over. They're going to get a good draft pick still, and they have a lot to build. I feel like the future is very bright in Indianapolis for the Colts for sure. As for the Houston Texans, I cannot wait to see this team in the playoffs. DeMeco Ryans would be my vote for Coach of the Year easily. He's done an amazing job. Good job for him. That is for sure. So congratulations to DeMeco Ryans. 100%. Can't wait to see him, C.J. Stroud and company in the playoffs against the Cleveland Browns. Now on to Sunday. There were 14 games yesterday, and a lot of them had meaning, a lot of them did not. So anyway, let's get into some of them. This was one that did have meaning, and it's the Buccaneers defeating the Carolina Panthers by a final score of 9-0. This was a weird final score. Not a single touchdown was scored in this game. 3 field goals by Tampa Bay. That was enough to give them the victory. And so, yeah, good win for sure by the Bucs. Congratulations to them. So, yeah, good job for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is for sure. They won the NFC South despite not being great down the stretch. Obviously, you know, they lost to New Orleans. They didn't look great at all down the stretch, but they got the job done. Congratulations to them. That is for sure. As for Carolina, thankfully this season is over. It was a memorable one, but not in a good way. That's for sure. So hopefully for Tampa or for Carolina, they can move forward, get the right people in place so that they can have a team similar to this year's Texans or the Jaguars of 2022. So look at it like that. It might not be that long for you guys, Carolina. In all seriousness, it might not be. Bengals defeat the Browns by a final score of 31-14 in Cincinnati, and a game that didn't mean a whole lot. It was a good way for the Bengals to end their season for sure. Got a winning record yet again, even without Joe Burrow for a lot of this year. So good for them for sure. They should be much better and be back better than ever in 2024. Just a couple quick things. This was awesome too because the AFC North didn't have a single team with a losing record. Truly the best division in football. That's for sure. So good for our division, for sure. As for these Cleveland Browns, they were good this year, but we'll see what happens in the playoffs in terms of them. We knew this wouldn't be pretty because of all backups and stuff, but still a very good year for the Browns, for sure. Good job. Lions defeat the Vikings 30-20 at Ford Field in Detroit. Sunday afternoon, Detroit really took it out after that controversy with the referee, Brad Allen. They looked really good. They looked really strong, and this team's a force to reckon with here going into the postseason. I would keep an eye out on Detroit because they can make some noise in the playoffs. So definitely keep an eye out on the Detroit Football Lions. That is for sure. This offense is explosive, and it'll be interesting to see what they could do Sunday night against the Rams at Ford Field. So, yeah. As for the Vikings, this season was a roller coaster yet again. Team was nowhere near as successful as last year, but not a surprise to many due to how they won all those one-score games. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the general manager, labeled this a competitive rebuild. This year's results showed that they were competitive and a very competitive team, that's for sure. However, they just couldn't get the job done a lot of games. I think it was largely a part due to the injury to Kirk Cousins. And that's what it was. So, yeah, that's why I think that happened. It was funny, though. The first 15 games the Minnesota Vikings played were all one-score games. The last two they played were not. It was a loss to the Packers, which surprised me that wasn't a one-score game. And it was this loss to the Detroit Lions. So, yeah, this team, their last win was the 3-0 shutout win in Vegas. So, they're going to need to find a quality QB2 this offseason and hope and pray Kirk Cousins resigns. So, it'll be an interesting offseason in the Twin Cities. That is for sure. The Jets defeat the Patriots 17-3 in Foxborough in what is likely special teams captain Matthew Slater's last game in New England with the Patriots, and possibly even head coach Bill Belichick's last game in New England with the Patriots as well. Definitely interesting there for both of the teams, that is for sure. As for the Jets, good quality win, gives you some momentum going into the offseason. You guys turned to 7-10 with the quarterback rotation and all that. Imagine if you had Aaron Rodgers. This team is going to be so much better next year. I have a lot of hope in this team next year, and it's going to be a great year for you Jets fans. So, don't get me wrong, Rodgers may look a bit rusty after his injury and all that, but I still think the Jets are going to be a very good football team next year. I can see 9, 10, possibly even 11 wins for this New York squad. So I still think the best is yet to come for them. Just give Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett, and Aaron Rodgers 1 year together and see what they can do. And I think this team's going to the playoffs next year. So, yeah. Sorry about that pause there in the video. Somebody called me and I just wanted to see who it was. So, I'm sorry about that. So, anyway, though, back to the Jets. They looked good. I think they're going to be a competitor next year. That is for sure. I'm excited to see them for sure. As for the Patriots, it's going to be a long road ahead. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Belichick for sure. But regardless, though, this team is a top 3 draft pick for a reason. This team is not very good, especially on offense. And like I just said, it is going to be a long, long, painful road ahead for New England. But they'll be back sooner rather than later, I feel like. Saints dominated the Falcons 48-17 in New Orleans on Sunday afternoon. Saints just looked dominant this whole game. I mean, they're a good team. They're a quality football team, so credit to them. Very good job. Very nice to see 2 winning teams in the AFC South or the NFC South this year for sure. So, good job to the Saints. And that was a true quality win by them, so congratulations. As for the Atlanta Falcons, tough way to end the season for sure. Another tough year at 7-10. I felt like this team would be a little closer this year, however, they weren't. And so, yeah, that's that. Tennessee Titans defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars by a final score of 28-20 on Sunday afternoon at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. This was awesome because this was the game that got the Steelers into the postseason. So it was an amazing, amazing, amazing win for the Titans for sure. Derrick Henry, likely his final game there. Team showed a lot of heart, and they played really well in what was his last game in Tennessee. 6-11 this year was a down year for sure. Hopefully the offense can rebound next year and get the Titans back to where they belong in contention. As for the Jaguars, this loss was horrible for them. This one eliminated them from playoff contention. It was the same for Jacksonville, considering all the expectations they had this year. However, that terrible towel curse, it just gets to you. I mean, if they wouldn't have done that, this team would have probably been a lot better. it would have also been better if Trevor Lawrence wouldn't have got hurt. He looked like the king of this division. Now it looks like, I was reading a tweet, it looks like it's going to be a dogfight for years to come in the division. So great win by the Titans. They'll be back soon. Hopefully we see more of Will Levis next year, and it'll be interesting for sure. As for Jacksonville, hopefully they can rebound in 2024. Now on to 4 o'clock games here. There's a fair share of those. It surprised me how quickly we moved along with the 1 o'clock games, not realizing how many 4 o'clock games we had. We have a lot. It's about an even split, but we still have a lot. Seahawks defeated the Cardinals 21-20 Sunday night or afternoon in State Farm Stadium. Big win for the Seahawks. Gets them back over 500 for sure. So they looked very good, and good job by Pete Carroll at the end there, going for 2. And that gave the Seahawks the win and improved them to 9-8. However, it was not enough to get in the playoffs, as the Packers, who we will get into next, won. Cardinals, they finished the season at 4-13. Disappointing year for sure. However, I think they defied the expectations that many said. A lot of people expected them to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft and be terrible. However, that's not what they were. They were a very good They were not a very good football team. This year I said that. I'm sorry. They were a much improved football team. Even though they had the same record as last year, this was a better culture. That is for sure. Year 1 of the rebuild, led by Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon, showed some promise and results. It might not have been the promise and results Cardinals fans wanted. However, it was helpful. It was very good for sure. And I think this is a 7, maybe 8-win team next year for sure. Packers defeating the Bears 17-9 at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to clinch their playoff berth. Big win for the Packers for sure. Jordan Love showed a lot of promise. Packers did not let themselves down 2 years in a row. Very good job by the Packers. Like I just said, a lot of promise there, and the future is very bright for this Packers team. So it'll be interesting for sure. As for Chicago, they now go into the offseason with a ton of decisions to make. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, who I expect to stay on, will have to determine the future of Justin Fields, whether or not he will be a Bear next year. For the 2nd consecutive year, the Bears will have the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft as a result of the Bryce Young trade from last year. They can either stick with Fields, trade the pick, and gain more assets to build around him, or they can trade Justin Fields, keep the pick, draft in QB such as Caleb Williams or Drake May, and begin the road to the future. No matter what, though, I mean, if the Bears make the right decision here, and we'll get into that more on my full offseason plan for all 32 teams, that video will be out after the Super Bowl, sometime mid to late February, so definitely please keep an eye out for that one. But looking at the Chicago Bears, if they get this decision right, looking at the way Green Bay has progressed, looking at the way Detroit has progressed, and even Minnesota, once they get Cousins and stuff back, I think they have great coaching and great front office. I feel like this division could be very competitive for years to come. So, yeah. Chiefs defeated the Chargers 13-12 at SoFi Stadium. Not a surprise at all. The Chiefs winning, Chargers losing. However, the score might be a surprise to some of you guys. Largely in part, I think it's because the Chiefs had in their second stringers. No Rasheed Rice, no Mahomes. I don't think Pacheco or Kelsey played a whole lot this game, if at all. It wasn't Kelsey, but I think Pacheco might have been out of this game with an injury, so hopefully he gets better soon for the playoffs if he is hurt. But anyway, though, big win. I'm just tired. I woke up this morning at 7:25 and went to bed last night around 11:30, so still 8 hours, but I'm still tired. So probably just getting back in the routine, that's for sure. Not as much sleep as I'm used to. So yeah, with break now being over. But anyway, though, hopefully the Chiefs get it back for the playoffs. As for the Chargers, they will have the 5th overall pick going into this offseason. That's attractive for sure for any GM or coach candidate there. it's going to be an offseason of rebuilding and hopefully getting this team back to where it needs to be. It's a quick fix, I think, in LA. That's for sure if they get the right people. This is a job I feel like Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will prosper with. As you all know by now, Johnson is the target for multiple teams as a head coaching candidate, and I feel like Ben Johnson this would be the best fit for him, that's for sure. So, yeah. Moving on down the line now, Raiders defeat the Broncos 27-14. Both these teams finished the year 8-9. Raiders finished the year second place in the division. Broncos third place. Congratulations to Antonio Pierce. He's definitely a good head coaching candidate for them, and I hope he stays there. It's his locker room at this point. I think he'll be a very good head coach in the future. Definitely a contrast from Josh McDaniels. That is certain. So good job, Antonio. And I hope he gets the full-time job there following this win and their comeback this year. I expected this team earlier in the year to be a sleeper team. They were not the sleeper team that I expected to get in the playoffs. However, they did show a lot of improvement. That is for sure. I predicted 9-8, 8-9. They finished the year at 8-9, so not bad at all. As for the Broncos, 8-9, still, that's not bad for them either. I predicted 9-8, they were 8-9, but Sean Payne earlier in the year said, I'm going to be pissed if this is not a playoff team. I'm sure he's very pissed right now because this is not a playoff team, and it was not a playoff team by 2 games. Although until the second to last week of the year, they were still technically in the playoff race, despite their slow start. So good things for them are coming if they could get this right. I don't know what the coming years will bring, but I think they'll be good. I do think they'll be really good under Sean Payne for sure. I think he's going to retain GM George Patton, so that's very good as well for them. Now into this next one. Giants defeating the Eagles 27-10. Let's start with the Giants because they are the victors and they won this game, so let's talk about them. They looked very good. They played well against a quality Eagles team, and they will finish the year 6-11. Not what some Giants fans hoped for after what was a great year in 2022. However, we all knew regression was coming for this team. I think they need to get a backup quarterback in there to do better things for them. And they also need to bolster their O-line. If they can do those 2 things, I think this team will be back next year for sure. A lot of talk right now about the Eagles because they're struggling on all fronts. They've started the year out 10-1, as you all know. They right now are 1-11-6. They were 1-5 in their past 6 games. Their only win was a narrow Christmas Day win over these very Giants. So this Eagles team is struggling right now. A lot of issues on defense. I still don't think Brian Johnson is as responsible as Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. I think Patricia's a joke at this point. Nobody should trust him. I think he's known as a loser, and I don't think Matt Patricia is very good at all. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So, I think he's the problem, and I think he's probably not going to be a part of that Eagles staff next year. But hopefully they could get it turned on because they have a big playoff game in Tampa next week. So that'll be interesting. That is for sure. So a lot of fixes need to happen and fast for the Eagles. Moving on now to the Bay Area, the Rams defeated the 49ers 21-20 in San Francisco. A little upset because I went to see the Packers play the Lions instead of the Rams. Now they're going to get the Rams and Lions, Packers, Cowboys. Still should be a good game for sure. Matt Stafford will go home to Detroit to see that again. That'll be a good one for sure. But this Rams team looks good. They're finding ways to win. Give them a lot of credit. This team's going to be talented. It's going to be tough for Detroit next week to beat them, I feel like. But it'll be an interesting game for these teams. That is certain. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But good win for the Rams. Congratulations to them. Nobody expected anything out of them. They found a way to do something. I was like the only one saying the Rams had a chance at the playoffs. This team could be pretty good this year. I know I picked them at 8-9. Still one game short of the playoffs. However, a lot of people said this is the start of a rebuild. I did not expect the start of the rebuild. I expected them to be a good quality football team this year, and that's what they were. So credit to them. That is certain. So, yeah. As for the 49ers, this loss is not really a bad thing. It's just because, they ultimately decided to sit starters, which, again, isn't a bad thing because they had the number 1 seed locked up. So, yeah, that's why. So, not a bad thing. Cowboys clobbered the Commanders 38-10 in Landover, Maryland. The Cowboys get a big win from sure, gets them a lot of momentum going into the postseason. Dak, CeeDee Lamb did good, and it also clinched them the NFC East title. This was huge for them. They'll get 1, possibly 2 home playoff games. They're guaranteed at least one home playoff game, possibly 2, maybe even 3. You never know. So if this isn't Dallas's year, then I don't know what is. So it'll definitely be interesting, that's for sure. So big win for the Cowboys, that's for sure. As for the Commanders, they were not very good this past year, and obviously major changes coming to our nation's capital. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say about them. They should be lucky they're getting the number 2 overall pick. So yeah. Last game here for you guys. I know we moved very quick. That's what I wanted, that's for sure, because we still have some other stuff to talk about, that is for sure. But, yeah. Bills defeating the Dolphins 21-14 at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Definitely a bad loss for the Dolphins, that is for sure, going into the playoffs. They failed to clinch the division. They were up so many games on yet again, so definitely a bad thing. Sorry about that. For sure, for the Miami Dolphins, not looking good right now for them. And they have a tough matchup next week in Kansas City, who they lost to earlier this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of them. But good job but it was still a good year nonetheless. Congratulations, though, to Sean McDermott, the Buffalo Bills. Very good finish after a rocky start. I remember a couple weeks back, nobody had any faith in Buffalo. But guess what? They turned it on at the right time. Their only loss since firing Ken Dorsey was a narrow one at the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't think there's any team in this league right now hotter than Buffalo. I certainly wouldn't want to play the Bills. Unfortunately, the Steelers are. So we'll have to see what happens there for sure. Big win, though, for Buffalo. Now we're going to get to a couple things. First off, we're going to do the standings. Then we're going to do the draft order. First 18 picks are now locked in. And then we will talk about some Black Monday stuff that has already happened here to recap Week 18 of the season. And then I'll talk about the coming week. So, yeah. Let's start off with the AFC East. These are your final regular season standings for the NFL. AFC East, Buffalo Bills finished at 11-6. Miami Dolphins, they finished at 11-6. New York Jets, 7-10. New England Patriots, 4-13. AFC North, Baltimore Ravens, 13-4. Cleveland Browns, 11-6. Pittsburgh Steelers, 10-7. Cincinnati Bengals, 9-8. AFC South now, Houston Texans, 10-7. Jacksonville Jaguars, 9-8. The Indianapolis Colts, they were 9-8 this year. Tennessee Titans, they were 6-11. AFC West now, Kansas City Chiefs, you were 11-6. Las Vegas Raiders, 8-9. Denver Broncos, 8-9. Los Angeles Chargers, 5-12. I'm looking at some of these point differentials across the NFL. It's so funny. The Chargers had a net point differential of -52. The Broncos, who finished in third place 3 games better than them, had a net points differential of -56. That's largely in part, though, probably to that big loss in Miami earlier this year. However, and same thing, the Colts, they had a winning record, negative point differential. Same thing with Pittsburgh. They're going to the playoffs we're going to the playoffs 10-7, negative 20 point differential, worst in the division. So that's very funny the way some of these games go. But anyway, it is what it is. It's the NFL. NFC East now. Let's look at this. NFC East, Dallas Cowboys, they're 12-5. Philadelphia Eagles, 11-6. New York Giants, 6-11. Commanders, Washington, D.C., 4-13. NFC North now. Detroit Lions 12-5. Green Bay Packers 9-8. Minnesota Vikings 7-10. Chicago Bears 7-10. Again, this is also very funny. Two teams with 7-10 records, the Vikings and the Bears, have a better points differential than the 10-7 playoff bound Steelers. That, I think, is largely in part to your two blowout losses earlier this year to the 49ers and the Texans, though. So don't make more out of that than it is. Just winning. That's all that matters. NFC South now. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were 9-8. New Orleans Saints, 9-8. Atlanta Falcons, 7-10. Carolina Panthers, 2-15. Last division, NFC West. San Francisco 49ers, 12-5. LA Rams, 10-7. Seahawks of Seattle, 9-8. And the Cardinals are 4-13. Alrighty, now let's do this one last little thing here before we get into Black Monday and I talk about what's next. Then after that, the video will be over. Let's look at the NFL draft order. These are only the first 18 picks that are set in stone. The other picks will be determined as a result of the postseason. So, yeah, that's how I want to look at it. Let's talk about this one here. Carolina Panthers, the number 1 overall pick would have went to the Carolina Panthers. Had they have not traded it, because they traded it, it will go to the Chicago Bears. Number 2 is Washington. Number 3 is New England. Number 4 is Arizona. Number 5 are the Chargers. Number 6 are the Giants. Number 7, the Titans. Number 8, the Falcons. Number 9, the Bears. Number 10, the Jets. Number 11, the Vikings. Number 12, the Broncos. Number 13, the Raiders. Number 14, the Saints. Number 15, the Colts. Number 16, the Seahawks. Number 17, the Jaguars. And number 18, the Bengals. So, definitely going to be an interesting draft, that is certain. Now looking at some Black Monday news here around the NFL. Just a couple quick storylines here for sure. Only 3 moves have happened today. It's only 9:47 a.m. However, it feels like Black Monday, though, is almost over because I would expect many more moves the rest of the day. Plus, it feels earlier to me since I'm in college, so and I don't start till later. In high school, I had a 7:25 a.m. start time. My first class today in person is not till 1 o'clock. I had a class for 10 a.m., but it got canceled because the professor was away. So it feels much later, though, than it's supposed to be. So, yeah, that's probably why Black Monday's ending felt like it was early to me. Anyway, though, let's start with a couple of these decisions that were happened today. Going to start off first with the Falcons, 12:09 a.m., surprisingly. They fired head coach Arthur Smith. This was not a surprise to me. I felt like he deserved it. I don't think he was doing the best for the team, and things really got off the rails quickly in Atlanta. So, yeah, that was definitely interesting, but not surprising, that's for sure. Falcons fired Arthur Smith. It will be interesting to see where the team goes next. Now on to the Panthers. They fired their general manager, Scott Fitterer. Again, not a surprise to me. He should have been gone a long time ago. So Scott Fitterer is out. So it's probably a good thing for Carolina. After the 2-15 season, they could start all over again and begin a rebuild. So, yeah, for sure. So Scott Fitterer is fired in Carolina. On to the last one, and this one's a bit of a surprising one. Or this one, it's not surprising. We all knew it was going to happen, but the way it was handled was surprising. The Commanders fired head coach Ron Rivera this morning. That part there is not surprising. We all knew this was going to happen, and we all knew a big change was happening in Washington. Now, on to the surprising part. The team hired the NBA's Golden State Warriors. He was the GM of the Warriors for a long time. He resigned this year, but he was tasked Bob Myers is his name. He is tasked to help find the head of football operations and the new head coach in Washington under new owner John Harris. This was interesting for sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And they also hired Rick Spielman, Rick Spielman, to help with this search as well. This is very good for the Commanders. They have two amazing quality people in there leading the search, along with Josh Harris, who has had a lot of success with his other team. So the tumultuous period in Washington appears to be over, and it's a new day in Washington, and all Commanders fans will be looking forward to this big time. So change is imminent there, and it's going to be very good for a long time in Washington, I feel like. So, yeah. What surprised me, though, is the fact that General Manager Martin Mayhew and other the people on the front office side were not let go quite yet. It looks like they're going to stay until the new staff, the new head coach and president of football operations is hired. However, I think they're going to be let go as soon as that happens. So it'll be interesting for sure. Definitely a weird shakeup there. I think a current general manager in the NFL is going to be hired to this president of football operations role. This is not a common role in the NFL. It's more popular in baseball and hockey than it is football. So I feel like a current general manager is going to get this title. And they're going to hire somebody under them to be the GM with a head coach. This is going to be a very good structure, I feel like, for Washington. It's going to be great. So credit to them. And I think it's going to be very great. So, yeah, it was a little weird at first, but I think if this team does it the right way, it could be great, like I just said. So, yeah. So that's really all I have for you guys today. The NFL playoff picture and NFL playoff schedule has been officially set. Let me pull it up. The wild card schedule, like I just said, is officially set. On Saturday, we will get the Browns and the Texans at 4:30. Saturday night, we will get the Dolphins and the Chiefs, but that game's only on Peacock, so I will not be watching that, unfortunately. On Sunday afternoon, we'll get the Steelers and the Bills. 4:30, it will be the Packers and Cowboys. 8 o'clock, it will be Rams-Lions. And then Monday Night Football, we'll get Buccaneers hosting the Eagles, so definitely interesting times, that's for sure. Definitely going to be a fun postseason. I cannot wait. Friday, we will break down all these games, and we'll do the same thing we did every week. So, can't wait to see you guys all on Friday for that. Anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Quicker episode than normal. These next couple will be quicker because of the playoffs. Have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Pray for Israel. And as always, peace. See you Friday.